My girlfriend and I had been in love for 10 years. We were the perfect couple, a match made in heaven, and everyone was waiting for our grand wedding. We were less than a month away from the big day. Then my usually so reserved girlfriend frantically begged me to go to prison in another man's place. I refused, but she gave me an ultimatum. If I didn't agree, the wedding was off. I love her more than anything, so I agreed. But when I got out of prison, the reality waiting for me was that she and he were already engaged. I love you. The words should have been full of warmth, but she spoke them with a chilling tone. I love you, Mike, and I want to marry you. But if you'll just go to prison for Leo, I promise I'll marry you. It's only for 3 years. Mia, who had always been so proud and composed, knelt before me at our own engagement party. Leo already has severe PTSD, she pleaded. If he goes to prison, he'll have a complete breakdown. So I'm begging you, please. Leo, the orphan the Harrison family had adopted, the boy who could only love Mia from the shadows, but who had captured her complete attention after the fire, because he was the one who had saved her from the flames. From that day on, he became the center of her world, while I was relegated to her peripheral vision. It didn't matter that Mia and I were childhood sweethearts, that we had been in love for a decade and were about to be married. I swallowed the pain in my heart and asked, then what about me? Why should I be the one to go to prison for him? Is this a case of the squeaky wheel getting the grease? Mia looked up, and for a moment, I saw a flicker of hatred in her eyes. Because of the fire, she said. You owe him the fire. It was always about the fire. I had done everything I could to make it up to Leo, but in her eyes, I was still the guilty one. Mia, I asked, my voice breaking, when will I ever be redeemed in your eyes? She stood up and kissed me. If you go to prison for Leo, she said, we'll put the past behind us. I looked straight into her eyes. Promise me, I said slowly, that you'll cut him out of your life completely. She took a deep breath and closed her eyes, as if fighting an internal battle. After a long moment, she gave me a soft kiss. Okay, she whispered. I promise. 3 years. I had been trapped in a cage that was never meant for me for 3 long years. The heavy prison gates closed behind me with a final thud. I scanned the surroundings, but Mia, who had promised to be there, was nowhere in sight. My heart sank, but I tried to reassure myself. She was a CEO now, incredibly busy. It was understandable she might forget something as trivial as my release date. After all, she hadn't visited me once in those 3 years. So I waited at the prison gates all day. Finally, an old guard on the evening shift took pity on me, pointed me in the direction of the main road, and told me how to get home on my own. The city was dazzling at night, and everywhere I looked, there were giant billboards for Mia's company. In the photos, she had a smile that was both powerful and confident. It was clear she had managed the company brilliantly in my absence. A small smile touched my lips at the thought. With her career so successful, maybe the workaholic in her would finally make time for our wedding. 3 years of my life for a lifetime with her, it still felt like a worthy trade. I had intended to go straight home, but I couldn't fight the urge to hear her voice. I borrowed a phone from a kind stranger and dialed her number. The voice that answered sent a chill down my spine. Who is this? What do you want with Mia? It was Leo. I almost dropped the phone. Wasn't he supposed to be completely out of her life by now? Leo, this is Mia's fiancé. Why do you have her phone? There was a pause. You're out. That's right. I did your time for you. Are you happy? Now I'll ask you one last time. Why do you have Mia's phone? Oh, that's because she's asleep right next to me, he said casually. I didn't want a phone to wake her. What are you talking about? She was supposed to leave you. Why is she with you? Leave me? No, Mia's been by my side for the last 3 years. Leo's voice was dripping with provocation. I lost control and roared into the phone. How could you be with her? You son of a bitch. What the hell, man? The stranger who'd lent me his phone was terrified by my contorted face. He snatched the phone back and ran off. He was right. I was losing my mind. I ran home like a madman. The house that was once always lit up for me was now dark and deserted. I vaulted the fence, shattered a window pane, and scrambled inside. Ignoring the sharp pain of glass shards digging into my back, I looked up. The sight that greeted me left me frozen. The floor was strewn with withered flowers and deflated balloons, the walls still covered in faded decorations. It was decorated exactly as it had been for my proposal to Mia 3 years ago. The very same party where she had knelt before everyone and begged me to take Leo's place in prison. I took a deep breath, forcing down the lump in my throat, and took another look around the house that held so many memories. The first floor, where the party had been, was thick with dust. But as I climbed the stairs, I found the second floor was spotless, but completely empty, clear signs that someone had just moved out. Had Mia just left? Did she move to avoid me now that I was out? Full of questions, I pushed open the bedroom door. A framed photo on the nightstand immediately caught my eye. In the picture, Mia was smiling sweetly, her arm linked happily through Leo's. My heart plummeted. Why would a photo of them be in our bedroom? Unless I suddenly recalled how Leo, during his episodes, had often insisted he needed to live with Mia. Could they have been living together this whole time? I frantically searched the other rooms on the second floor and, just as I'd feared, found one filled with traces of Leo. The trash was overflowing with his empty prescription bottles, and on his nightstand sat an identical framed photograph. It all pointed to one conclusion. For the 3 years I was in prison, Mia had been by his side, taking care of him. A sudden breeze drifted through the broken window, and on that warm July night, I felt a bone-deep chill. I wrapped my arms around myself, trying to hold myself together, and slowly sank to the floor. In a daze, I closed my eyes and drifted into an exhausted sleep. The sound of the front door opening startled me awake. I opened my eyes to see a familiar, beautiful figure walking towards me. "Mia!" I exclaimed, a wave of relief washing over me. She took a small, almost imperceptible step back. "Mike, what are you doing here?" I frowned. "I got out yesterday. Did you forget?" "Oh, right," she said, a look of realization and apology on her face. "I'm so sorry, Mike. I've just been incredibly busy." "Busy?" I shot back. "Weren't you busy sleeping next to Leo last night?" My voice was sharp. "You promised me you would cut him out of your life. Why did you lie to me?" Her face went white. "Mike, you just got out. You don't understand everything that's happened. Let me take you home first." I clenched my fists. "What don't I understand? You never visited me once in 3 years. How could I possibly know what's been going on between you and Leo?" "Mike Harrison." Her patience snapped. "Stop being so possessive. Nothing happened between Leo and me. He's never touched me." With that, she turned and began searching for something in the bedroom. I followed and snatched the item from her hand. It was a bottle of antidepressants. My heart sank. "You're depressed." "It's not for me," Mia said, shaking her head. "It's for Leo. His PTSD got worse and developed into severe depression." She looked up at me, her eyes pleading. "So please, can you just stop giving him a hard time?" My heart felt like it was being crushed. "So that's why you didn't leave him?" "Because of this." Mia sighed. "After you went to prison, I tried everything to leave him," she explained. "But he had a complete breakdown. He even tried to kill himself multiple times. I had no choice. I had to stay with him and figure things out slowly." I took a shaky breath. "So for the past 3 years, you've been living with him?" Her silence was an answer before she finally whispered, "Yes." "Then what about me? What does that make your fiancé?" I demanded. "You promised me that if I did the time for him, the fire would be behind us. So why are we here?" Mia looked up, that same flicker of hatred in her eyes. "If you have to blame something, blame the fire. It's caused Leo unending pain." And in that moment, I understood what she was really saying. She was blaming me, blaming my carelessness for not making sure the fireplace was out, for causing the fire in the first place. And no matter what I did, not even going to prison could ever atone for that sin in her eyes. My legs gave out, and I collapsed onto the sofa. Hiding my face in my hands, I asked in a pained voice, "So what are you and Leo now?" "We're nothing," she insisted. "Nothing." I let out a bitter laugh. "You're nothing, but you sleep next to him? You're nothing, but you come all the way back here just to get his prescription? If I hadn't shown up here and run into you by chance, would you have forgotten about me completely?" The sharp sting of a slap echoed in the room. Mia had hit me. A burning pain spread from my cheek through my entire body. I stared at her in disbelief. She bit her lip, a panicked look on her face, as if she was as shocked by her own action as I was. She repeated stubbornly, "We're nothing, right?" I scoffed, covering my stinging cheek to hide the utter defeat in my eyes. "Sure, you're nothing. Given how close you two are, if he's nothing to you, then I must be a complete stranger. You gave him all your attention, Mia, and I was the one you forgot." We stood in silence for a long time. Finally, she broke it. "Let's go home first. I'll explain on the way. Leo needs his medication." I took a deep breath, fighting against the stabbing pain in my chest. "Fine." Mia drove me to a villa in a neighborhood I'd never seen before. "We're home," she said. I clenched my fists. This wasn't my home. This was her home with Leo. She always hated the quiet. She loved the energy of downtown New York. That's why I'd spent a fortune on a penthouse for us. But for Leo, she had chosen the quiet suburbs. A fresh wave of pain hit me. "Mia, Mike, you're back," Leo called out, rushing from the kitchen wearing an apron and holding a spatula. "Dinner's almost ready. Just give me a few more minutes." The sight of him made me sick. I walked right up to him. "So this is my Mia's new home. What are you doing here? Playing house chef? That's great. When Mia and I have kids, maybe we'll give you a raise." The color drained from Leo's face. Mia immediately rushed over, pulling him behind her protectively. "Mike, He was just being nice and making us dinner. He's not our servant, so treat him with some respect." She then pulled Leo away. As they walked off, he glanced back over his shoulder and gave me a triumphant, mocking smirk. It was a hot July day, but I felt a deep, freezing chill. As I sat in the living room, watching Mia and Leo interact, it was obvious that I was the outsider here. While Leo cooked, Mia was at his side, handing him ingredients and utensils. She even placed his pills on his tongue for him. I couldn't stand watching it. I told Mia to go sit down and that I would help Leo in the kitchen. The moment I walked in, Leo's expression soured, and his confident cooking motions became clumsy. I ignored his attitude and started cooking. After a minute, he sidled up to me and whispered, "I forgot to mention, Mia bought this house for me. The deed is in my name only. So I guess that makes you the real outsider here." I smirked back at him. A grown man who has to rely on a woman to buy him a house. "You're the pathetic one." He just smiled. "Maybe, but she bought it for me, didn't she? That's a skill in itself." I scoffed. "Your only skill is playing the victim to get sympathy. You're insecure, weak, and twisted. You'll never earn her love, only her pity." As I spoke, the color drained from his face. A cruel smile formed on my lips as I pressed on. "I cooked for Mia for 10 years. She's used to my food. It's all she likes. Everything you're making is just a cheap imitation of my recipes. Is that all you can do? Pretend to be me to get her attention?" Leo turned away, his face ashen. After a moment, he said quietly, "Mike, could you pass me that pan of hot oil?" I was busy with what I was cooking, so I handed it to him without looking. He took it, and a second later, dropped it. Scalding hot oil splashed all over my legs. It hurts so much," Leo screamed, clutching his leg. Mia immediately rushed into the kitchen, her face a mask of panic as she checked on him. "It's not Mike's fault," Leo gasped, his voice tight with pain. "I just lost my grip. Ow, it really hurts." "Let's get some ointment on that right away," Mia said, all her focus on him. She helped Leo up to go find some burn cream. Then she turned to look at me, her eyes filled with resentment. "Mike, I don't care how much you dislike him. You can't just hurt him like this. He's already on so much medication. Do you really want to cause him more pain?" I clamped my mouth shut, saying nothing. The hot oil had splashed everywhere. It had gotten on Leo's leg, but he was wearing thick jeans. The oil was just on the fabric. It couldn't have possibly burned him. I, on the other hand, was wearing shorts. The scalding oil had splashed directly onto my bare skin. I glanced down to see angry red welts already blistering on my legs. When Mia had knelt to check on Leo, if she had spared even a single glance for me, she would have seen my raw, blistering skin. But she hadn't looked at me at all. I grabbed a bowl of ice water from the fridge and poured it over my legs as a makeshift treatment, then went back to cooking. If no one else was going to care about me, I'd have to do it myself. I hadn't had a proper meal in the 2 days since I'd been released. I was starving. I finished cooking, set the table, and ate my meal alone in the empty dining room. After I finished eating, there was still no sign of them. Suspicious, I went upstairs to look for Mia. As I approached Leo's room, I heard them talking. I hid by the doorway, watching as Leo, in the middle of an episode, sobbed in Mia's arms. She was stroking his hair, speaking to him with a tenderness I had never seen her use before. In that moment, I felt a sharp pang of jealousy. "Mia," Leo cried. "Now that Mike is back, are you going to leave me and go back to him?" Mia hesitated for a moment before answering softly, "Leo, don't worry about that now. Just focus on getting better. If the only reason you're with me is because I'm sick, then I never want to get better," he declared. "Don't be silly. You need to focus on your health," Mia replied, her tone attempting to be stern. But underneath it, I could hear nothing but indulgence. Just then, Leo looked up and saw me standing in the doorway. A flicker of surprise crossed his face, quickly replaced by a smirk. "I know Mia won't abandon me," he said, looking right at me. "After all, we're engaged." Engaged? The word hit me like a physical blow. I stumbled backward, bumping into the door frame with a thud. The noise startled Mia. She looked up and saw me, her face a picture of shock, completely lost for words. I stormed into the room. "You're engaged to him?" I demanded. "Let me explain," she started. "Yes or no? Just answer me," I yelled, fighting back tears that made my eyes burn. "Yes, but," she began, then glanced nervously at Leo and fell silent. She was afraid of triggering another episode, so she couldn't say what she wanted to. I knew exactly what she was going to say. That Leo had a breakdown, and to calm him down, she had to agree to a fake engagement, and that as soon as he was better, she would marry me. But in that moment of hesitation, her first instinct wasn't to protect my feelings. It was to protect his. I closed my eyes, trying to hide the raw pain and despair I felt. "I get it, Mia. I understand completely now," I said, backing out of the room. I looked at Leo. "This is all my fault. I was the one who was careless and caused the fire. I guess I'll be paying for it for the rest of my life. I should have just died in that fire. Mike, stop it. Stop talking. Leo cried out, clutching his head as if in agony at the mention of the fire. My head hurts. Mike Harrison, stop it. Don't you dare talk about the fire. You know he has PTSD. Mia, who had looked apologetic just moments before, was now screaming at me, her only concern being Leo's distress. Mia, it hurts, he whimpered. The fire, it's so hot. Sure, it's okay, I'm right here, she soothed. Watching them, I felt a bitter, ironic laugh build in my chest. If anyone should have PTSD from that fire, it should be me. I turned without another word and went to the guest room, pulling the covers over my head as if I could hide from my own life. In the middle of the night, I felt the bed dip as Mia climbed in beside me. She curled her small frame against my back and whispered, Mike, I promise as soon as Leo is stable, we'll get married. I was wide awake, but I didn't want to speak to her. Her promises were empty. After the fire, it was, pay Leo $10 million and we can get married. Then it was, go to prison for him and we can get married. Now it was, wait until he's better and we can get married. But depression is an illness that's easy to fake. If he never wants to get better, would she put me off forever? Her small hand slid under my shirt, her touch warm against my skin. Mike, she whispered, I've missed you. All the hurt and anger I'd been holding back suddenly snapped. No matter how much she hurt me, one small kindness from her and I always came running back. I rolled over, pinning her beneath me. Mia, I don't want to hear that you miss me, I said, my voice low. I want you to keep your promise. Marry me. She looked conflicted, biting her lip as she hesitated. My heart sank. I was about to roll off her and leave when I caught a flicker of movement in my peripheral vision. A figure was standing in the doorway. A strange, malicious thrill went through me. I leaned down and whispered in her ear, we could just go to City Hall, get the license quietly. Leo never has to know. That seemed to convince her. She looked me straight in the eye, her expression firming with resolve. Okay, Mike, we'll get married tomorrow. A genuine smile spread across my face for the first time in days, and I leaned in to kiss her. Suddenly, a sharp gasp came from the doorway. It was Leo. He was standing there, looking so frail he seemed on the verge of collapse, his face completely drained of color. Mia shoved me off her and scrambled out of the bed, rushing to his side. Leo sank to his knees, looking up at her with wide, devastated eyes. Mia, he choked out, are you really going to marry him? He clutched his head, pulling at his hair. No, my head hurts. Mia, take me home. I don't want to be here. Mia helped him to his feet. Come on, she said gently. Let's get you your medication. As she started to lead him out of my room, I called after her. Mia. My voice was flat. You're leaving? The night before we were supposed to get married, my fiancé was leaving to take care of another man. Mia looked from me to Leo, and her grip on his hand tightened. I knew what her choice was. I feel like the other man, I said with a bitter laugh. The moment he needs you, I'm the one who has to go. Mike, Mia said, her tone sharp with annoyance. Don't start. I turned away from them and pulled the blanket over my head, blocking out the sound of her soft, cooing voice as she led Leo away. I'm done fighting, I thought. I'm done. Later that night, I had a nightmare. I was trapped in a fire again, surrounded by searing heat. I could feel my skin melting, dripping away to expose the raw flesh and bone beneath. Outside the inferno, a crowd had gathered, but no one was trying to help me. They were just pointing, watching me burn as if it were a spectacle. I screamed for help, begging them to save me. Through the haze of smoke, I saw a familiar face. It was a lifeline. Mia, I cried out, help me, please help me. But she just stared at me, her expression cold and distant. Then Leo stepped in front of her, blocking her from my view. You deserve this, Mike Harrison, he sneered. This is all because you were careless with the fireplace. You deserve to lose everything. He was right. I deserved it. I should have died in that fire. I gave up and lay down, letting the flames consume me. I woke up with a scream. I sat bolt upright in bed, my face wet with tears. The dream had brought it all back. The year I was 21, Mia, Leo, and I were all living at the old Harrison estate. It was a dark, snowy day. I had lit the fireplace to keep us warm, but I'd been careless and hadn't made sure it was completely out before going to bed. That's when the disaster happened. A fire tore through the old mansion. When I woke up in the hospital, I couldn't remember what had happened. The doctor said it was amnesia from carbon monoxide poisoning. Mia had lost her memory of that night, too. Leo was the last to wake up, and he was the one who filled in the blanks. He told us he had risked his life to pull both of us from the flames, and that the trauma of the experience had left him with severe PTSD. Overwhelmed with guilt, I did everything I could to make it up to him. I gave him $10 million. I catered to his every whim, but I slowly realized his true goal wasn't money. It was Mia. By the time I understood what was happening, it was too late. Mia was pouring all of her energy into him, determined to compensate him and heal him. Our wedding was delayed indefinitely. Then, he caused a hit-and-run accident. That's when Mia begged me to take the fall for him, promising that if I did, she would finally marry me. And I did, only to get out and discover they were engaged. The dream was over, but my absurd, tragic reality continued. The next morning, Mia told me she couldn't find her birth certificate, which we needed for the marriage license. My hand, which was holding my own, tightened into a fist. What do you mean you can't find it? I asked anxiously, ready to tear the entire house apart to find it. Don't bother, Mia said, stopping me. She wouldn't meet my eyes. And then I understood. You gave it to Leo, didn't you? I asked. She just looked at the floor and mumbled, he had a really bad episode last night. It was the only way I could calm him down. I laughed, a harsh, humorless sound. What kind of PTSD gets cured by destroying someone else's marriage? Mia quickly covered my mouth with her hand. Keep your voice down, she hissed. Don't let Leo hear you. My laughter died, leaving only misery. I looked her straight in the eye. Mia, do you even love me anymore? Because everything you do makes me doubt it. Her gaze flickered away from mine, over my shoulder. I knew Leo was there. Of course I love you, she said, her tone dismissive. We've been together for 13 years. I closed my eyes in pain. But Mia, your actions don't show it. She didn't seem to hear me. She was already moving past me, a bright smile on her face as she went to Leo. And just like that, I wanted to laugh again at the absurdity of it all. During my 3 years in prison, Mia had successfully been promoted to CEO of her family's company, and Leo had become her personal assistant. After a tense breakfast, she left for the office with him in tow. I realized I needed to get back to work and rejoin society. I brought it up with Mia, who glanced at Leo to gauge his reaction. Seeing he was calm, she nodded and promised to find a position for me at her company. When I got there, I discovered the position was for a security guard. I called her immediately. Why this job? I asked. With my degree and experience, I could walk in as a project manager. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Finally, she spoke, her voice low. Leo didn't want you working in the building at all. I had to fight just to get you this job. Leo again. It all clicked into place. Mia, don't you see what's happening? Don't you see why he's doing all this? I pleaded. This has nothing to do with the fire. It's because he's in love with you. He's trying to steal you from me. That's why he never gets better. Are you really going to keep falling for it? Are you going to choose him over me? Can't you see what he's doing? There was another long silence, followed by a soft sigh. Mike, she said wearily, once he's better, my blood ran cold. Mia, you're a smart woman, I said, my voice dangerously quiet. You've known all along what he's doing, haven't you? You know, and you're still letting him do this to me. She sighed again. Mike, you're making Leo out to be a monster. You know exactly what kind of person he is, I retorted. If you were truly blind to it, that would be one thing. But if you know what he's doing and you're still choosing his side, then I'm done. I still have some self-respect left. I didn't say the words out loud. A small, foolish part of me was still holding on to hope. Her voice suddenly turned hard. Mike, if you're looking for someone to blame, blame yourself for starting that fire. You deserve this. You brought it all on yourself. Then she hung up. It always came back to the fire. My entire life was trapped in the ashes of that night. I took off the security uniform, left it on the desk, and walked out. I started looking for work on my own, but my prison record made it impossible. In the end, the only job I could find was hauling bricks on a construction site. The physical labor was exhausting, but the emotional toll was worse. As it turned out, I was working on a construction site for one of Mia's own company projects. The other workers still talked about the lavish engagement party for her and Leo. Hearing them talk about Leo with such envy was like a knife in my gut. I should have been the one engaged to Mia. My name, Mike Harrison, should have been the one they spoke with admiration, not his. None of my coworkers could ever guess that the quiet guy working beside them was once one of the wealthiest men in New York, or that the home I went back to was a mansion worth millions. But all of that felt like it belonged to another life. On nights when we worked late pouring concrete, I would sit on the scaffolding 20 stories up and look out over the sprawling city. A giant billboard of Mia dominated the skyline, her face covering half the night. She was smiling in the photo, a genuine, relaxed smile I hadn't seen in person for 3 years. Every night, I fell asleep with a dull ache in my chest. But tonight, that ache sharpened into an unbearable, stabbing pain. Tonight, Leo had another episode. He showed up on my construction site like a madman, demanding that I give him my blessing to marry Mia. He stood on the edge of the unfinished third floor, threatening to jump if I didn't agree. I just stared at him, my face grim. There was no way I would ever agree to that. Mia, who had followed him, grabbed my arm, begging me. Mike, do you know why he's like this? she asked, staring into my eyes as if trying to will me into submission. It's because you keep insisting that I have to marry you. I've tried to break it to him gently, but he can't handle the stress, and it triggers these episodes. On the ledge, Leo took a theatrical step back. I've tried to keep my promise to you, she continued, her voice rising. But I don't owe you anything anymore. Leo stopped moving. We just weren't meant to be. I'll compensate you. Just let me and Leo be happy. Leo smiled, a weak, fragile smile. Mia instinctively moved towards him, but I stepped between them, pushing her back and creating distance. I kept my eyes fixed on Leo. What exactly are you fighting me for, Leo? I asked quietly. What do I even have left? I let out a cold laugh and began to tick things off on my fingers. Financially, you're better off. Position-wise, you're her right-hand man. As for her heart, Mia is completely devoted to you. And to top it all off, you're the one holding her birth certificate. Honestly, if you wanted to marry her, you could have just done it behind my back. So why this whole dramatic scene? I said, taking a slow step towards him. I'll tell you why. Because deep down, you've always felt inferior to me. You'll always be that jealous rat, hiding in the shadows. Without that fire, Mia would never have given you a second glance. The only thing you have is her pity. I have 13 years of her love. And you know it. I finished, my voice low and clear. You know that if I were to throw a pathetic fit, just like you're doing now, she would drop you in a heartbeat and marry me. Leo just stared, his chest heaving, looking like he was about to collapse. Seeing him like this, Mia flew into a rage and shoved me hard. Why would you say that to him, she screamed. You know he can't handle it. You're the reason he's like this. You're the one who almost got him killed in that fire. Why can't you just give him a break? She glared at me as if I were the villain. My heart shattered. Haven't I given up enough for him? I asked, my voice hollow. Do you want me to give you up to him too? Suddenly, the whole situation struck me as horribly funny. She knew how much I loved her, how much I'd humbled myself for her. She knew exactly what Leo's game was. But she just let it happen, letting me take all the blame and all the pain. Before, I had always forgiven her. I told myself she still loved me, that she was just trapped by her guilt over Leo. But now, standing here, I finally accepted the truth. She didn't love me anymore. And if she didn't love me, then my entire sacrifice was a joke. Mia, your promises mean nothing, I said, my voice flat. You make them to me and break them just as easily. But for him, you're willing to get engaged just to manage his illness. How am I supposed to keep loving you? I started backing away. I've been a fool, Mia. I'm done fighting. I can't win. You two get married. I won't be the villain standing in the way of true love anymore. I turned to leave. Goodbye. I'm sure the look on my face was awful, but I held myself together and didn't let a single tear fall. When she heard my words, a look of genuine confusion crossed Mia's face. It was the confusion of someone who was suddenly forced to see the truth behind a long-held lie. She couldn't understand why I was saying these things, why I was suddenly giving up on her. She just frowned, looking lost. Mike, what are you talking about? A bitter smile touched my lips. The Mia I knew 3 years ago would have understood perfectly. With that, I turned to walk away, but she grabbed my arm. I let out a self-deprecating laugh. You should be careful. Leo's still standing on that ledge. Seeing you hold on to me might just be the thing that pushes him over. But she just held on tighter. Mike, I do still love you, she said, her voice desperate. Why are you leaving? I was stunned into silence. From a ledge, Leo shrieked. Mike Harrison, get the hell away from her. He was completely unhinged, a true madman. She loves me. I'm the one she loves. I turned back to him and smiled sadly. You're right. She loves you most. I'm giving you my blessing. No, Mia yelled, the words tumbling out of her. That's not true. I've always loved you. I was just. She clutched her head, as if finally, truly seeing her behavior over the past 3 years for what it was. But it was too late. I gave a final, bitter smile and turned to go. In that instant, Leo launched himself off the ledge. He didn't jump. He charged at me, wrapping his arms around my waist and tackling me over the edge. The fall from the 3rd story only took a few seconds, but it felt like an eternity. My life flashed before my eyes, and the memory of the fire, the one that had defined my life, came rushing back, clearer and more detailed than any dream. I think I remembered everything. The impact with the ground felt like an explosion in my chest. In the last second before everything went dark, I saw Mia leap from the edge right after me. The last thing I heard was her screaming my name. Mike! It was the last thing I heard, and it sounded just like it did 13 years ago, the very first time she ever said my name. My head, it hurts. The lost memories flooded back into my mind like a tidal wave, causing a splitting headache. I lay in a hospital bed, trying to process it all. 10 minutes later, I slowly opened my eyes. The first thing I saw was Mia's anxious face. She was injured too, a bandage wrapped around her head. My hand moved instinctively to touch her wound. But then I remembered everything that had happened, and my hand froze in midair. I awkwardly pulled it back. It's over, I reminded myself. We're nothing to each other now. Mike, are you okay? Does anything else hurt? Mia asked, her voice filled with concern. I turned my head away from her. I don't want to see you right now, I said coldly. Please leave. She grabbed my hand, her words rushing out. Mike, I was wrong. I've been wrong about you for years. I'm so sorry. Confused by her sudden change, I turned to look at her, frowning. She looked distraught, biting her lip and wringing her hands. Finally, as if making a difficult decision, she met my gaze and said with conviction, Mike, I remember. I remember what happened during the fire. Her eyes were filled with a profound guilt. The fire, it wasn't your fault, she whispered. And the person who saved me that night wasn't Leo. It was you. All these years, I thought he was the one who saved me. That's why my head was throbbing. Enough, I cut her off. I frowned, touching the bandages on my own head. I remember too. The memories from that night, lost for so long, were finally clear. That dark, snowy day, I had just put out the fire in the fireplace when Leo came in, saying he wanted to read by the warmth of the flames. So I relit it for him and went upstairs to bed. Leo sat in the rocking chair by the fire, reading a book. Maybe it was the late hour or the warmth of the flames, but he eventually drifted off to sleep. The book fell from his grasp, landing on the rug right beside the hearth. A stray ember from the fireplace caught the edge of the book, which in turn set the rug ablaze. The carbon monoxide knocked Leo unconscious, but the thick smoke was what woke me up. I fought my way through the flames and managed to drag both him and Mia to safety. But in a cruel twist of fate, the smoke inhalation caused both Mia and me to lose our memories of that night. But Leo remembered. Yes, Leo knew the truth all along, but he chose to lie. The moment he woke up in the hospital and realized we couldn't remember, he began to spin his story. He blamed me for the fire, using my guilt to get money and a position in the company. He faked his PTSD to capture all of Mia's sympathy and attention. It was all a game to him, a way to prove he could beat me. He wanted to see if the poor orphan could win against the privileged son of the Harrison family. He saw himself as a victim, someone the world owed a debt to. He hated me for everything I had that he didn't. But he never stopped to think that out of all the children in that orphanage, he was the lucky one. He became a Harrison with a life of comfort and opportunity. He started the fire, and I took the fall. I gave him endless compensation. Mia devoted herself to his care. And even with all that, he still believed the world had wronged him. I struggled to sit up in the bed. Arson, I said, my voice hard as steel. An attempted murder. I stared straight into Mia's eyes, not backing down. This time, I'm not taking the fall for him. You and Leo can figure this out on your own, Miss Scott. She grabbed my hand, her eyes wide with panic. What? Are you going to plead for him now? I asked mockingly. Tears started streaming down her face. Mike, it's me, Mia, she sobbed. You always call me Mia. Please don't call me Miss Scott. She was begging. But who was she begging for? Was she trying to save Leo? Or was she finally realizing the extent of what she'd done and was now begging for herself, for my forgiveness? I ignored her tears and slowly pulled my hand from her grasp. Are you asking for my forgiveness, Miss Scott? Yes, she nodded frantically. Yes. A strange feeling stirred within me. The truth was, Mia wasn't malicious. She was just too compassionate, and Leo had exploited that. If I were in her shoes, would I have acted any differently? But the pain she had caused me was real, and I couldn't forgive her that easily. I needed to know if she was sincere. I leaned in close and whispered, Mia, if you're really sorry, then make sure Leo pays for what he did. She looked up at me, her eyes searching mine. Then promise me, she said, if I make sure Leo goes to prison, you'll forgive me. A cold, ironic feeling washed over me. Her words sounded awfully familiar. I wanted to laugh, but I suppressed it. Fine, I nodded. Make sure he gets life. She nodded back, grabbed her phone, and walked out of the room with a new sense of purpose, as if she couldn't wait to begin. I didn't see her for the next month. I sat in my hospital room, watching the autumn leaves fall, convinced that she had abandoned me after all, choosing to run away with Leo. Then, a month later, she returned, looking exhausted but determined. She placed 2 documents in my hands. One was a court document detailing Leo's conviction and life sentence for arson and attempted murder. The other was a stock transfer agreement. I signed the papers without hesitation, reclaiming the company's shares that should have been mine all along. Mia's face lit up, thinking this meant I had forgiven her, and she moved to hug me. I held up a hand and stopped her. Miss Scott, I said, I haven't agreed to take you back. Her face fell. Then what do I have to do? She asked, her voice small. I turned my head to hide the smile that was threatening to break through. You can start by pursuing me, the same way I once pursued you. If you do a good job, maybe I'll agree. She frowned. What? But that was so hard. I fought the urge to smile. Well, are you going to do it or not? If not, you can leave. I'll do it. I'll do it. She agreed immediately. Good, I said, turning to look at the autumn leaves outside the window. I suddenly remembered it was on a crisp autumn day, just like this, 13 years ago, that she had first agreed to be my girlfriend. A small, genuine smile touched my lips. Well then, Miss Scott, I said, I wish you the best of luck.